Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm Kelly and I'm co-hosting with my sweet friend Ivana.
Hi, Virginia.
Hi.
We just finished up our book club discussion for the correspondent, and we've got questions from readers that we'll kind of moderate as we go, and then we record and post to our YouTube channel.
Okay.
So we will say in our video that this conversation is filled with spoilers. So we'll make
Okay.
that clear.
Okay.
So somebody doesn't accidentally like stumble upon it.
Yeah.
And be like, what? But for this discussion, we've all read the book and we've all loved it. And so we would love to hear
Okay.
spoilers here. So
Okay. All spoilers are welcome. Okay.
yes, yes. And your background looks so fun.
Oh,
Your
thanks. This is my study. It's very,
oh yeah, it's beautiful. And you know what? I think I have the same wallpaper.
oh yeah, it's a rifle. It's
It's
rifle.
rifle. Yeah, I just put it up in mine's blue. So
Right. Yeah, I have the like wine, burgundy wine color, I think.
pretty. Wow. Okay. Well, great taste. Great taste. So, congratulations on the correspondent. This has been so fun to see the book come out in the world. I remember DMing you a few days before it came out, and you're like, I just don't know like how readers are going to receive it. I'm like, it's going to be fine.
I
It's going to be
know.
good.
I still don't know what to make of it, but
Yes, it was an indie next pick, and it's just been getting glowing reviews. I haven't seen anybody who has had one negative thing to say about the book. So,
thank
um,
you.
how
Thanks.
has it been with your story and Sybil being out in the world?
It's been so great. I think I had no idea what to expect, and I've never done this before, so I had nothing to compare it to. And so, everything that happens, it's like, great, right? Is that great? I don't know. I'm always kind of pinging my agent to say, are we happy? Is this like what we wanted? I just feel um very new and like in the dark a lot of the time. So much of this whole industry, like the publishing industry to me feels very shrouded. And maybe next time if if on my next book I won't feel that way as much because I will have gone through it and stuff, but it's been, I mean, I think it's been great. I think it's going well. It's been I've received a lot of feedback from readers, through Instagram or through people reach out to me or reach out to my editor or my agent. And I do feel like the feedback has been largely positive. I mean, pretty positive. I mean, certainly I've gotten a few emails that are not not positive, which is really funny. I received an email with the subject line, "Wonderful book, but." And the whole email was all the reasons that she had problems with it. Which I'm kind of like, okay, well, that's fine. So that was kind of hilarious, but I mean, largely it's been neat to see, something that I wrote and didn't really ever anticipate getting published, having a, I mean, making a big impact on people and people saying things to me and sending things to me that are very, I mean, it's sort of like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that it would mean this much to anyone. You know what I mean? And it seems to mean a lot to people, which is really cool.
Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
just over here, even just sharing quote after quote after quote that really resonated with us. We were tearing up over one of these quotes about remembering someone after they're gone.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Oh gosh.
so many lines. I mean, Kristen, you should really hold up your book if you haven't done that yet. I feel like
Yeah,
Kristen,
I don't think I can see everyone. I don't know.
maybe Kristen, you might have to talk for it to show
Okay.
you. There it
Here's
is.
my like 8 gazillion book flags because I
Oh,
just loved everything.
oh my
So
gosh, I
thank you.
love that. Thank you for showing me that. What a treat. I feel so self-indulgent. Like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Your book just really speaks to just the heart of humanity.
Mm,
And we were talking about in our discussion how the art of writing a letter can feel maybe like a dying art,
mm.
and how even within this group you've inspired people to start writing letters. And actually two of the women had not met in person, and they like wrote a letter to each other from
See, I love
which was
that.
so cool.
So cool.
Have you heard of any stories or like people have told you about what letters mean to them, or how that part of the book has impacted them?
Yeah, I have had a lot of people reach out even by letter, to me to say, this is something that I used to do and I don't do this anymore. And reading the book made me want to do that again. Or um, I receive like some of the letters I've received have been really meaningful. Actually, my father's sister wrote me a letter after she read the book. I mean, some people are people I know, but as soon as I received the letter, I had this crisis moment because she had a son die, and I saw the letter and I was like, oh no, I don't know. It's just scary. Like it feels, you know, nervy to think of a woman who lost a child reading the book. That feels like it makes me kind of like hold my breath, like, oh, I hope it's okay, or I hope it landed okay. I mean, certainly, I mean, Sybil's response to losing her son came out of my imagination. I've never lost a child, and that it was my imagination. It's not like I interviewed people that had lost children. It's not like I researched or something. Um, but my aunt wrote me this letter and it said, I don't know how you know how I felt my whole life. I don't know how you know that. And it was really meaningful, just to and I think she wrote it because some things are like too sacred to text, I think, or too sacred to email or something. So yeah, it's been really neat to um, have so many people say to me, "You inspired me to write a letter." And interestingly, a lot of people have said to me, "I would love to write to you." And I want to say what Sybil said to Caroline Dobson, don't write to me. Write to the person that you have something meaningful to, I wrote this book, it's fiction and it's my letter to the world, but I'm not the person that you need to write to. I mean, I would love to receive someone's letter, but I hope what it's inspiring is not just letters like to me, but letters to the people that we, want to send like an artifact of our thoughts to. It's because that's what I think a letter is an artifact, and then you can have it forever. I mean, I have like piles of letter. I mean, I have letters every letter I mean I have drawers of letters and little like ones I've put around my desk, and it's a treasure, to have that someone's handwriting, and I think
Yeah, it sounds like letters have played a pretty big role in your life. Will you talk a little bit more about the inspiration behind the story?
yeah. Yeah, that the inspiration for the book was letters. I mean, it started with letters. It didn't start with Sybil. It didn't start with a woman who, what the kind of the launch point for me was wanting to write a book in letters. I have always had this streak of madness, which is if I read something amazing, I think I can do that. So like the first time I ever had that thought, I was 16 and I read The Grapes of Wrath and I finished the book and I was like, I can do that, which is like insane.
Probably not most people's reaction, so that's great. Good on you. Yeah.
And I was like, how, I mean, as a child. So I always, if I experience a book that is so like a shock to my system in a good way, a lot of times my response, if I want, if it's a warm response, it's a I can do that, I want to try to do that, or I'd like to try to do that. And I had read 84 Charing Cross Road, and I had kind of read that right in the beginning of COVID, and I had finished writing a novel, a different novel. It was a traditional novel, very literary, very long, and it was out for sale to editors, but it wasn't getting picked up, and it was really tough and just a slog. I've written several novels and none of them had ever made it through the finish line. So I was just in despair, and it was COVID. We had just moved back from living abroad, and we were back and I didn't want to be back, and I read 84 Charing Cross Road with my book club. Um, and the experience I had reading that book was so warm and so life-giving for me. And I got to the end and thought, I can do that. I want to do that. And I'm going to do that. And so what I what I'm always, whenever I start writing a new book, I'm always writing what I want to read. And so I just wanted to read more of that. I wanted that book to be longer. I wanted more of that relationship. I was absolutely um dumbfounded by the way that that book is so short and so brief, but I think it covers like 20 or 25 years. And so the letters are so spaced out. And so you know that in the negative space between those little letters over, maybe a year goes by or something before they write, um, there's so much happening between the letters, but you don't ever get to see that firsthand. So I wanted a more zoomed in experience of reading someone's correspondence, and I wanted variety, and so it was the desire was I want to write a book in letters. And then the kind of next thing is what kind of a person would write enough letters to write a book, for to make a book. And so that's where the character Sybil, like Sybil as a person, kind of it came to me. I mean, she came to me I would say pretty easily. Um, and then it was, a matter of then a good idea. There's a quote there's some author said this, which I always love this, is a good idea is not a good book. Like a good idea is a good idea, but like a good book it takes so much more than the idea. It's like you need plot, you need people, you need a problem, and you need desire, and you need all these things. So then, the challenge with this book with letters is how do you make it a page turner if you're just kind of at the desk with somebody? And so I was really trying to write a book that you couldn't put down. I wanted to write a story that you couldn't put down. So
Yeah, mission accomplished.
I'm glad.
Will you talk a little bit more about your writing process as far as, oh, sorry, noisy plane ahead.
Oh, I can't say it all.
Okay. Um, as far as how you went about this, did you write all of the letters in order? Are you a pantser, a plotter? Did you know where the story was going, or did it surprise you along the way?
That's a great question. I'm so glad this is a spoiler full conversation because I have had to answer this question a few times and I'm kind of like, because I can't say what I want to say. So what I want to say is I knew I knew she was gonna die at the end. That was like kind of always what I knew. And the reason for that was that I wanted to tell the story of a whole life from beginning to end. I wanted you to see like the whole thing from when she's born to when she's gone. Um, that was partly inspired by another book I read a few years before, which was Stoner by John Williams. That's like one of my top five ever favorite books. And it's a very similar, I mean, it's not a similar in terms of the way it's written. It's similar in that it's the story of a whole life. And it's sort of like at the beginning, you think, oh, there's an old man. And then the book cracks it open and tells the story of a life. And then it's this very devastating reminder that nobody is just an old man. Nobody's just an old girl. Nobody's just somebody. Everybody has some amazing, long, complicated life that they're either living or have lived. And if you just crack open the chest of somebody and dig in, I mean, there's so much, there's just so much to every person. I mean, anybody, any of us, if somebody wrote the story of our life who's a good writer, it will be a page turner. I just think that's like all of our lives are so interesting. Um, and so um I think I was ready. Oh, so the process. So I knew I wanted her to die at the end, and I knew I wanted it to be letters, and I knew I wanted to um I think I knew I wanted to start with her being older because I had met this woman who really inspired me to think about a person like Sybil. I was trying to buy a house from this older woman, kind of in my town, and we got together and we actually corresponded for about a year. We were trying to buy her house, but it didn't work out. But getting to know her was an experience like she kept dropping these little breadcrumbs of like information about her life, and every single one I was kind of like, wait, what? Where did you live? Why were you in Jerusalem? Like all these sort of curiosities that she would like leave that made me think of kind of inspired Sybil. So then it was just really I think I really did kind of start at the beginning, like Dear Felix, and she's writing to her brother. And then it was just kind of off, I mean, then it was just kind of off to the races. I probably, wrote the first draft. And again, I wasn't planning on selling this book. I wasn't planning on giving it to my agent. I was sort of just like, I was calling it my palate cleanser, after I had written the book that was failing and was ready to embark on another kind of more classic literary style book. And so I, um, just kind of wrote with abandon. I mean, it's why I wrote like very cavalierly in the voice of Joan Didion. I mean, who thinks they can write in the voice of Joan Didion? That's also speaking towards the streak of madness. But again, I wasn't thinking I was going to show it to anyone. So then in different drafts, I did rearrange the letters, and sometimes that involved like a wall of sticky notes, and there's like letters on everyone, and it's repasting them. If anybody's seen the new Little Women with Saoirse Ronan, and she has like all the pages of Little Women on the floor, and she's like moving them around and crawling across the floor. I mean, I've done that for multiple books. There's something about that, like having to move the pages around, and you have to like do it physically. With letters, it was easier because they're like a chunk. It's like here's a page, here's a page, here's a page. You can put this one here and this one here. There's a date error. If anybody has the hardback of the book, on page 30, maybe you guys caught it because you're all really good readers, but there's a date error. It says like December of 2013, and the next letter is January of 2013. And I had lots of date errors when I was moving letters around. So I had to like comb the text to make sure I didn't mess it all up. And I did mess it all up until like the week before printing. There were still problems with my dates, but this one got missed. So if you have that, they're gonna change it, and it'll be right in the next printing. So if you have it, it's like only the first edition has the wrong date,
Does
which
the
is
does the arc have the wrong date too?
probably, let me look.
What page did you say?
30. Hold on, let me look. I'm reaching up on my shelf.
Okay.
Hang on.
I feel like it's right in here, but maybe I'm.
Well, it's like December. It says December,
Should be December 2012.
right. Yes. In the
Oh,
arc, it's page 30. It should say December 2012, January 2013, but in the arc, it's also wrong. So if you
oh,
any of the ones that, I mean, if any of it has a printed copy, it'll be wrong.
interesting.
But they're gonna fix it.
Great.
So you have some weird old version. But yeah, that's more or less what the process was for this novel.
So did you do all the letters? Let's say she wrote to Rosalie at
Uh-huh.
once,
Uh-huh.
and then just read them?
No, I did them as we went. And
Oh, okay.
and kind of as I went, this was like the gift of the letter format, is that it was so malleable. Like if it got to a point where something else was needed, I could introduce a new character, or I could, just add a letter. Like if there was a letter in October and there's one in December, I could just plug one in November or something. So it was kind of that was easier. It was more malleable than a traditional novel, where if you rearrange something, you feel like you're kind of having to like domino effect rearrange everything. In this book, I didn't feel that way. It felt easier to kind of like insert things where I needed to insert them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Wait, I love that you brought up Rosalie. Doesn't everyone love Rosalie? Isn't she the best?
Yeah, we loved her. We loved everybody.
I love Rosalie. She has such a special place in my heart.
She's so sweet. Theodore was also he stole my heart.
Oh, Theodore.
I just,
He's
yeah.
the hero.
Yeah.
He's the unsung hero, the
Yeah.
correspondent. I love it.
Well, Mary Ellen had a couple questions about letters. Mary Ellen, are you free to ask Virginia?
I just have to get that mute off. That's the challenging part.
You did it. You did it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask the first question first. Sybil talks about getting her stationery from England and says that's what she loves. And I wanted to know, where do you get your stationery from? And can you recommend some stationery sources to us?
Yes, that's a great question. I wish I could afford the stationery Sybil affords, because that's what I would get. That's my dream stationery. And actually, several people have said like, aren't they sponsoring you by now? And I'm like, no, they don't know that I exist. But
Oh,
I would
wow.
love to get Smithson Stationery. That's my dream. Um,
Listen,
I I just buy, I mean, I just kind of pick up what I can find. There was a time when I was writing on, there's some kind of old stationery that's kind of pink. It's like some classic stationery and it's like a pink color and it's like an old school, and actually it's referenced in the book when she has that letter from her mother when she was given away for adoption, about the little letter her mother wrote to her adoptive parents, and it's like she was born under like a whatever sky, whatever she says
Yeah.
about Sybil, and Sybil's like obsessed with this letter. And it says it's on pink stationery. And that's a nod to some thing I read about how there's this like vintage old, I don't know, stationery. I like to buy like flat cards on Etsy with my like some sort of my name in it in some way, or so it's like I don't have to. I do have a really cool, my favorite thing I have for letter writing is an address return stamp, and it is the most beautiful thing, and I had it made by this designer. I'll show it to you. It's stunning. I might have to like stamp it on a piece of paper to show you, because here, let's see. Am I allowed to do this on this? Is this okay? We're like supposed to be talking and I'm
For sure.
stamping. Okay. Okay, here. Can you see that? So that goes at the top corner of my letter. So it says like
Oh,
Oh,
Virginia
wow.
Evans, and it has my address, and it goes at the top corner, and it's so beautiful and I'm obsessed with it, and you should all get one.
where?
It's called here, I'll drop it into the, can I put it in the chat and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can all see it? I think it's spelled yeah, got it.
It's
It's
so
like,
different from an original, stamper. Like I have a stamper, but it just goes in the corner and it's a circle or a
yeah.
rectangle. I can't remember.
Yeah. This, it feels very like
Yes.
old like old England or something to me. So that's my like letter indulgence.
Oh.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Um, the other question I had, um, uh, were any of the letters you wrote actual letters that maybe you yourself have written or you found somewhere? Were any of them authentic?
No, not one. All of it's fiction. Um, and all of it was really, none of it was even really inspired by any letter. I mean, I do exchange letters and I try to write letters. I am pen pals with Ann Patchett. I think that's making its way out into the like the knowledge pool of
Yeah.
reading my book. But Ann Patchett and I have been corresponding for like 10 years. So that would be the one that's closest to like something personal to me, is when she writes to Ann Patchett. But I would never have like suggested Anne come stay at my house.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
Anne blurbed your book though. She
She
says a
did.
cause for celebration.
Yeah, it was amazing. So she and I have corresponded for years. It started when she wrote Commonwealth, and I basically wrote her a letter with my review of Commonwealth. I mean, this is again madness. I mean, it takes a certain level of madness to do any of this stuff. But I wrote her this letter. I said, "This is what I loved about your book." And she wrote me back immediately and just said, "Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything that you said, and you have beautiful penmanship." So that was the beginning of a beautiful relationship. And so over the years, I mean, she kind of coached me through. I had an agent, like 10 years ago. I had a different agent, and it went really sideways. It was a pretty terrible like experience. The book I was writing then kind of the bottom fell out of it. And Anne kind of coached me through that, and she put me in touch with her agent, which it didn't lead to me being represented by him, but it was just a kindness. She's a very like kind and generous person in real life. Um, and so just over the years, we've kept like kind of maybe once or twice a year, we'll exchange a letter. So when I was working with my editor, kind of at the beginning of the process, my editor, Amy, somehow I think my agent kind of casually said to Amy, Virginia corresponds with Anne. And Amy was kind of like, "Oh my gosh, could you ask her to read it?" And I said, "No, I'm not doing I'm absolutely not doing that." And so she sent it to her unbeknownst to me, because she has a relationship with Anne. My editor does. Not She's not her editor, but they know each other. So sent it to her and I didn't know, and then the quote came back and I didn't know it was coming. I didn't know she was reading it and I didn't know she was going to blurb it. And actually when I found out, I really kind of panicked because I was kind of like, her name is in my book. I mean, she's gonna think I'm psychotic. But she doesn't. And she wrote me like she just wrote me the most beautiful letter. I have it sitting right here. Oh gosh, I can't close that. Anyway, it was right here yesterday. She just wrote back to me recently because I had sent her as a thank you for putting me on her Parnassus Instagram. I just had said like thanks. Everything you've done for me is like rocket fuel. I mean, probably the reason the book got off to a good start is because it has her name on the cover. And I really know that that's true. And there's a lot of like it goes a long way. And she knows that. And so I had written to her and I sent her a copy, the British copy of my book. The British copy has this like really cute pink and red cover. And I had sent her this one and she wrote me back and just said, your book is beautiful in the United States and it's beautiful in the UK and you should be so proud. I mean, she just is just very I mean, she's just generous. You want Ann Patchett to be wonderful and she is. So you can all be happy to know that she's in person wonderful.
That's so sweet. And like, yeah, such a full circle like moment for you.
Yes, yes.
Darla, did you have a question similar about the stationery shop, or did Mary Ellen's touch on that?
No, Mary Ellen covered it. We wanted to know if there was a real place that she was referring to, because we would just love to know. But it sounds like even if we knew, it might be out of our budgets.
I mean, I don't know. They're having a summer sale. Maybe you could like snag some, but it's like it would be kind of like the equivalent of Crane, like you know that company Crane. It's Crane like the bird. It's very just like it's like creamy, thick, very luxurious, but simple. You know, no like frills. And the Smithson one has different like color borders but real slim, so like there's a one with like a really thin buttered yellow border. I mean it's just so indulgent. I mean after I get off this maybe I'll just go buy some.
You should, as a just gift
I
to
think you
yourself
deserve
for
it.
getting out in the world. Yeah.
Here, I'm
Mary
gonna
Ellen
write-
said, can you spell the stationery name?
yeah, I just dropped it in the chat.
There it
Smithson.
is. Okay.
Yeah, and it's British so you have to pay shipping, which you know it's not
It's a
that
nice
bad.
little treat for yourself, maybe.
And it's a summer sale.
I know maybe guys I'm gonna go for it.
Should.
Good. Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for the inspiration.
Yes. Melissa, do you want to ask your question?
Sure. So first of all, I love the older protagonists in stories. And so to hear those points of view, and I'm one of those people that I love putting myself in those places where I get to hear from those people. And so I feel like you captured a lot of like the short, crisp, maybe a little rough around the edges aspects of that, especially at the beginning, parts of that just fit that age group really well. And so I'm curious, like, what is your inspiration for that? Did you talk to people? Are you just kind of around enough older people that you kind of pick up on all of those? Or are there some specific people that were like you had to put them in that phrase or whatever? Like they got a little Easter egg in it.
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think um you know at the risk of like I don't know what this comes off as, but the fact is that I what makes me a storyteller is that I am very curious. I've always been very curious about people. And from a very young age, like young child, I always would be like interviewing my aunts and uncles and my grandparents, like, where did you live then? Well, then how did you got drafted? What is the draft? Well, what happened? What was your number? Why were you drafted? Well, how come he wasn't drafted? How did the draft work? What was it like when you were in Vietnam? Like, I would just always be so, I don't know, I just was curious. And I've always been that way and I still feel that way. Um, And I think like over what I have enjoyed in those kind of coming out of that part of my brain is learning how people are and like what I don't know how people like how people's minds work like kids, boys, you know, like men, grandparent, like all the different people. I've just always been very curious, and I think that's the like that's what fuels me as a writer because then because I'm always kind of I think when I'm asking questions it's because I'm trying to understand the whole story, like, you know, what led to now, what is this, you know. And so I think I've always been just very intrigued and sort of like a student of human, like the human experience. Like I've always just been a student of that, I think. I was not a student of anything else. I was terrible in school. I was like totally a wreck growing up, but this was the one thing that I did. And so I think, you know, I have my mother-in-law, I have my, you know, my mom. I mean, my mom's a little younger, but there's women in my life that have played a major role in my life. And I've always enjoyed talking to older people so much. I just think I just think the stories are interesting. And so, um, when it got to, okay, I'm going to write this book, it didn't feel like a reach to me. It just felt like all that was right here. Like I've had these conversations. I've heard my aunts and all these women say these things and talk in this way. And I agree with you. It's like some people online I'm finding and hearing through the grapevine have very strong opinions about Sybil. Like either maybe they hate her. I mean, some people are like, I hate her. I'm like, do we all know she's fiction? This isn't a real person. Um, but I really like a straight shooter. I am a straight shooter. I really like a straight shooter because in with a person like that, my mother-in-law is this way and we're very, very close. My husband's mom and me are very close. And I what a straight shooter does is make you feel safe. Like there's nothing that you're not saying. I'm not wondering if you're walking away and saying something nasty about me or questioning me or making me I don't feel insecure in that relationship. And so to me, that's a loving relationship and a loving person. And so to me, Sybil is a loving person. I mean, I know she made a lot of mistakes, but I think her heart had always been full of love and a desire to love. Um, it was funny. I'll say this as the last part on this question, this answer is that my translator in Germany is a woman called Regina, and she is I think she's 76 maybe. And she was retired, and then my editor, Vera, in Germany, went to Regina and said, "Would you come out of retirement and translate this book?" And she said, "What's the book?" And Vera said, "It's about this woman in her 70s and, you know, blah, blah." And she said, "Well, who wrote it?" And she said, "This American girl." And she said, "How old is she?" And I was 35 when I wrote it. And she was like, "She's 35." And she was like, "No, I'm not doing it." And Vera was kind of like, "Come on, you know, it's really good. Just like give it a read." She's like, "There's no way that she could write a book about me. There's no way." And so Vera said, "I'll make a bet with you. If you read the book and it was right, you'll translate it." And so she read the book and she said it was right and I'll translate it. So she came out of
Wow.
retirement, which was so cool. She wrote me a letter too, and now we're pen pals. And
Oh,
the first letter she wrote me was similar to what my aunt had said. "I don't know how you know what that's like.
Yeah.
Somehow you do." So I hope it's right. I mean, if anybody in this group is that age, I hope I did it right, or at least as close to right as I could have.
The power of a
that's
storyteller. I mean,
yeah,
it's so
Thanks.
spot on.
Thank you.
high praise, that's for sure.
Thank you.
There was kind of along those lines, there was one quote in here um that Sybil had said, and she said, "I remember always finding it odd the way people had of speaking around and around a thing rather than directly to the thing. And I was often punished for insolence and rudeness."
Mm.
And my oldest son is autistic and he's a straight shooter as well. And in my mind, I just have autism on the brain a lot, but I just feel like in my mind, I was like, Sybil's autistic. And she may like maybe she's not, maybe it's just a product of her generation or something. But like I took that in my mind and ran with it. And I like loved that about her, that maybe she's
Yeah.
neurodivergent and maybe, she wouldn't have been undiagnosed, but she was just like had her rigid routines and she, was a little, her social communication was, different and she didn't understand or like how to navigate some of these nuances, these relational nuances in her life. And again, yeah, maybe that's part of just the generation, but in my mind, I was like, "Ah, maybe she's neurodivergent at heart." I don't
Yeah, you're not the first person that has said that to me. Other people have asked me that. I mean, I think a lot of people assume reading the book that Harry is, and then there's a question of is
Yeah.
Sybil? And I specifically and intentionally I did not say if anyone was or wasn't, because I think with Sybil's generation, it wouldn't have been a thing. It wouldn't have been named, or it would have been named just like, I don't know what, something not official, something that's like, oh, she's a little funny bird, or, whatever. And so, but I wanted there to be that. I wanted it to be this kind of, I wanted that to be a possibility. And however it's read, and I have a feeling about if any characters are or aren't as I was writing it, but it's not something that I would say. It's like I know what I think, and I like that it's read in different ways. Like I've had people say to me, "Well, Harry's obviously on the autism spectrum." And then I've had people say to me, "I don't think Harry's on the autism spectrum." And I think that's just a fascinating kind of conversation. So I like the conversation, and I like the idea of also now people in my family who are older or who have passed away, that we look back now and talk about. I wonder if they would have been diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum now, even though they never had the opportunity to be. I like that, but
In
thanks
my
for
mind, I'm like, Harry for sure is in my mind. And then I'm like, well, that's why they're like so connected, is
they're
because
so connected.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, I want to switch gears and talk about the cover because that was something we chatted about in our book club. Um, let's see.
Ellen and I think Darla, right?
Liz.
Or
Oh
Liz,
yeah,
sorry.
Liz. Yeah.
We asked her, they were just asking about the birds, right? And how if the birds have meaning, and we were trying to figure out the meaning of the birds and how they're sitting and if they're what type of birds they are, or
What did you guys think? What was everybody's consensus?
well, so I think Kim said that they might be English robins.
They are, yeah.
Oh, Kim. Wow.
Way to
Some
go,
type of
Kim.
corresponding birds, right? They're chirping something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The book cover was like such a debacle.
No.
Oh my gosh. And so where we landed with the birds, I'm pleased we can all like take a deep breath and move on. But I think the sentiment when my editor first presented the birds to me was the bird, like it's birds in conversation, like it's just a relationship. And so it kind of is a catch-all for all of the people in the book. It kind of can be, is it Rosalie and Sybil, is it Hattie and Sybil, is it um Sybil reaching out to Gilbert, what is it? And I think all of those are a yes. I think the sentiment of the cover, to me, it's not an obvious like, oh, there's the front door of her house, or oh, there's the whatever. But when I felt like when you closed the book, if you finished it and you finished the last letter to Dan and you closed the book, if you saw the cover, you would think that's a good cover for this book. Like that feels right for the book, and I think it does. My one of my best friends is a painter in Charleston, and she designed the cover for the German edition, which will come out in August, and it's Sybil's writing desk. Can you see it? It's like her little desk with the letters and the view of the water. So that's the German cover. And then it's the post box in the UK. So there's like lots of fun variety with that.
And then this one is not in print anymore, right?
And it never went to print. That is only available in galleys. And actually, like my marketing gal, who's great, she said, people keep calling me, can I get a galley of the old cover? She's like, I mean, it's like a freaking collector's item. She's like, should I send these to you? You can auction them off on eBay. And I was like, no, just give them to the people that want them. I mean, I don't want them.
It's fun that there's so many different versions. I mean, it's just awesome to see that the book is taking off in so many places and so many
That's
different
really cool.
covers.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very exciting. It's crazy.
Cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
Kristen had a question about the epistolary story. Kristen, are you free?
Yes. So I had heard Sarah Damoff, is that how you say it? Who wrote The Bright Years
Oh,
on a
okay.
podcast.
Uh-huh.
Say she originally wrote it in epistolary form, but agents and editors were saying we don't want epistolary stories. And I love those stories. So that kind of broke my heart. So I was curious if you got similar feedback, or maybe not because this book had to be in letters.
Huh.
And also to thank you for writing a great, successful book of letters. So hopefully they stop saying that and we get more of them.
Yes, I totally agree. You know, I didn't get that kind of feedback. I think I heard that I heard her on an interview as well, and I don't remember, I remember her saying she had kind of started it in letters and then it morphed. I didn't know it was because she was deterred from writing it in letters. That's really interesting. No, when I had, I mean, I don't know how everybody else's process works, and maybe if you've written other books and you're already somebody, there's like a little more oversight. I mean, I was coming out of the woodwork and nobody knew me, and so I'm like just slapping another book out there, hoping somebody grabs it. But um, it went out, and I didn't get any negative feedback about the letters, although I do remember at some point somebody saying, we're not sure if a person opens a book that's only in letters, will they be like, oh no, I don't want to do that? Like, will something about that format be like an automatic turn off or something? When my book went out, it went out to, I think maybe we'll say a dozen editors. I think usually my agent sends it to like a dozen at first pass. And it was a couple months where it was like not a peep from anybody, but it wasn't any no's, but it wasn't any yeses either, or any really word of any kind. Um, and then there was an editor at a different publisher, Spiegel and Grau, and they published like Go as a River is kind of their newest big book with the peaches on the front. And one of their editors wanted the book. And so then my agent Hillary, she then kind of sent out like to everybody else who was like considering it or still had it. Somebody wants to buy the book. Does anyone else want to buy the book? I mean, it's this whole effort to like drum up the price. Which I'm kind of like, just sell it to whoever wants it. I mean, for the love of God, this book's sold. We don't need to play games. But she knew what she was doing. So she sends out this email, and then the um the editor who bought the book is Amy Einhorn, and she's like kind of I mean, she's like a big editor in the world. I didn't know that. My agent was like, Amy Einhorn wants to buy the book. I'm like, who's Amy Einhorn? I actually told Amy that last week when I saw her. I was like, when she told me that, she said, that's really sweet, actually. I was like, I didn't know. But no, it was, and Amy was like, I love the letters. I mean, it was like whoever, I mean, I think it probably is a taste thing, but nobody really deterred me from it. So I'm thankful, because I was about ready to quit writing and go to law school when I was on this ninth novel. So I'm glad it got caught.
Oh, we are too. Okay,
We
before
only have a couple more minutes, so we thought we would
yes.
just like shoot out these last questions
Yeah.
real quick.
I'll answer quickly. Yeah.
Is it possible to buy the version with Sybil on the cover at all?
No, but send me whoever wants one, tell me, and I'll see if Kim, my girl at Crown, has any more, and she'll just send them to you for free.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Then you mentioned Stoner was on the top 5 of your books.
Yeah.
Are there more at the top of your favorites
Yeah.
list?
Yes, there are. I have strong feelings. This is the biggest Easter egg in the book. It's my favorite book is Rebecca, and that's why Sybil's letter to Dan is tucked in Rebecca when Theodore finds the letter that she was trying to write to Dan. It's in Rebecca. I reread Rebecca all the time. I love this book. It's never not wonderful. Has everybody read that? Right, read it. That's like
Yes, I
my
read that.
biggest. Yes, it's the best. That'd be in my top 5. The Dutch House is in my top 5. I mean, I genuinely think Anne Patchett's stuff is the best. I mean, my top 5 is like kind of always fluctuating. East of Eden is in my top 5. I've read that book like 3 or 4 times. Um, I would, if I had to pick one more, maybe I would pick, I'm looking at my shelf, like, what's your favorite? I don't know, maybe Lonesome Dove.
These are great. We're gonna jot
Yeah.
these.
But I will say my favorites list are all buried in The Correspondent. All those books that she loved, or books I loved. Not all of them. I wasn't like wild about Outlander, but it was perfect for the book. So I used it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Virginia, will you drop your email in the chat? I think
Yeah.
maybe it would be easier if you are interested in a galley, just shoot Virginia an email
Yeah.
and include your address in the
Yeah.
email. And then Virginia can just pass it along to her people.
Okay, make sure I spelled that right. Virginia Evans, author at Gmail. Yeah. That's good.
Looks
Yeah, I
good.
can pass it along to Kim. I don't know how many are left, but I'm happy for you all to have them. I'm sure they would be glad to get rid of them.
thank you. Can we take our photo too before we hop off with
Yeah.
you?
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to take a little photo at the end. And if you have your books and you want to hold them up, that would be great. We have
Okay,
some
I'll do that.
versions out here. Okay. I'll count down. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Yay.
What time is it? Okay, I could probably do one more question and then I probably need to go.
We always like to ask like what's up next.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's a great one. I probably shouldn't be leaking this information because it's making me feel like beholden to it in some way. So, but I'm just, I mean, I've already done it, so you know, what the hell. But
You want me to stop the recording right now?
yeah, let's do that. So this could
Okay.
be private info.
I don't want you to like lose sleep over this, so I'm gonna stop the recording. Okay, here we go.
Perfect. Thank you.